Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome again to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television. Thanks for watching, and thanks to our producer, Jeff Durall. Well, we're in the friendly confines of the Hays City Commission chambers, talking with Hays City Manager Toby Dougherty. And the reason being, since we're into the new year of 2015, we wanted to visit with the city manager, talk a little about where we are now and what's planned for 2015 for the city of Hays. Let's start with the where are we now, if we could, Toby.
Well, financially, we're in good condition as always. We take great pride in being proactive and being frugal and providing a good product, providing good services to our residents, but also being frugal with the money, and making sure that we're looking 5-10 years out to make sure that we're in as good a position as possible. We've had a little bit of a decline in our sales tax receipts the past couple of years. We ended 2014 a couple strong months, which put us up for the year. But when you look at sales tax receipts overall, the last couple of years we're down. And when you look at sales tax receipts versus cost of living increases, we're losing ground a little bit. But again, we planned for this, we expected this, and so it's not a surprise, and it doesn't hurt us operationally. So we're going into 2015 in good shape. We're keeping our mill levy the same as we do every year. We are living within our means. We're trying to put money away into reserves. We're trying as much as we can to pay cash for large projects rather than bonding. And we have a sort of a renewed emphasis on maintenance, repair, replacement of our existing infrastructure as opposed to the investment in new infrastructure. So at the staff level, you're going to see a lot of probably boring, mundane recommendations. It's not very glamorous, and nobody wants to do a ribbon cutting for a new sewer line. It's replacing a 60-year-old sewer line. But if you don't plan for those replacements and do that repair and maintenance, it's going to cost you a lot more money in the end. So we have a duty to make those types of recommendations, the governing body.
We've been impressed by the financial finesse of the city staff and how they've managed. The mill levy's been the same for, what, 7 years or so, I think?
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
when the mill levy the general fund mill levy was replaced by the sales tax in 2005, and it dropped to 25. There was 2 years and we had a different CIP, and we thought we were going to be doing a lot of additional projects for our street projects, that the city commission let the mill levy go up to 26, but then it went right back down to 25, and it's stayed there ever since. So yeah, I think 2007 was the last time it was at 26, and that was just for a year, and then it went back down. So we've done a good job of towing the line. That was about the time the city commission started revamping their capital improvement plan as well. It went from, quite frankly, a wish list of items we could do to items that we really need to be doing.
Those projects are part of what we're going to be talking about as well, Toby. But would you send your instruction manual, because City of Hays is rather unique in its financial situation compared to a lot of other cities across Kansas? We
took advantage of our position and leveraged an asset in the sales tax that some other cities don't have the ability to do that. We are the only city in Kansas that doesn't levy for the general fund. Now, there are cities that have sales tax revenues coming in to help support the general fund, but they also have a levy which provides that base stability. We decided that it would be in our best interest as a community. This was a community vote back in 2005, or 2004 actually is when the vote happened, to do away with the general fund mill levy and replace that with the 3/4 cent sales tax. The sales tax fluctuates typically more than a levy does, so we have a cushion that we have to try to maintain. And the one big thing is sales taxes aren't easy to adjust. It takes a vote. Mill levies can be adjusted by the governing body with each passage of the budget. They can raise it or they can lower it, and that's by Kansas statute. To adjust the sales tax takes a vote of the people, and so we know once the rate is set, that's what we have to live within. So we have to pretty much take whatever that sales tax can generate. So we are a little unique in our position. We've done a good job with living within our means and using that our unique position to help pay cash for projects and keep the property taxes lower. When you look at the city of Hays, our sales tax is paid for about 40% by people outside of the city of Hays. And so the people that come in and they use our streets and they use our police and they use our fire and they use the water, you know, and they use all these services, our parks at times, well, they're helping pay for that. And it keeps the property taxes lower for the people who live here.
Well, Toby, let's look ahead to 2015 and talk about some of those issues of water, streets, purchases. What's ahead for the citizens of Hays?
We have some projects that are going on right now, and some of these are new type projects and some of these are replacement maintenance type projects. I have a short list here. 41st Street is being reconstructed from Hall Street to the bypass. This was because of the growth that we're experiencing in that area. It is it's a KDOT project. KDOT's paying a portion of the project, and they're actually managing the project. So it's going to be our street, but it's a KDOT project. So we're kind of at their whim as to the day-to-day operation of that. The KDOT just approved the winter shutdown for that project because of weather, the permanent freeze they have in some of the areas there. They've reached the point where they couldn't do any substantial work, so they applied to KDOT for the winter shutdown. They are shut down. They should resume weather depending in March or April, and they have 34 working days once they resume work to finish the project. So late spring, you should see a substantial completion there. There'll still be some grading and seeding and other things that'll have to take place and grass growing in over the summertime, but substantial completion sometime in the spring. We are right now in the middle of an expansion and remodel of the airport terminal. That started a few months ago, and it's at a point now we have a new holding area. We have new restrooms in the holding area. The TSA has been relocated to a different part of the airport. And right now the main terminal itself, when you walk in, is in disarray because that's where all the work is taking place. So it's probably the most disruptive right now to somebody that just walks into the airport as it has been. But we are very close to being done. They're looking at mid-February to being complete with that. When we're done, we're going to have a holding area that holds a lot more people than before, and it has restrooms in it. We're going to have new restrooms in the terminal, new HVAC. The terminal itself will be expanded, new TSA area, new baggage handling system, so it'll be a lot nicer for everybody involved. Ash Street water line replacement is getting ready to kick off. We just finished the water line replacement on Hickory, and now we're replacing one on Ash. That should be completed in February as well. These are the non-glamorous things. It's replacing 60, 70-year-old water lines that need to be replaced. We have a lot of breaks. The mains need to be upsized and they need to be replaced because they're just not in good shape. So if you live in the Ash Street area, north of 27th Street, the Ash Street, you'll notice that. 13th Street replacement, Main from Main to Milner. 13th Street is a corridor into downtown. It's a very old street that's not in very good shape. It's an old concrete. It needs regraded. It needs replaced. The stormwater underneath it the system needs to be replaced. We have some water and sewer lines that need to be updated. That is out for bids right now, and I believe we open bids at the end of this month. So it's scheduled to happen this year. Right now, we don't know the cost involved or what it's going to be. The project is out for bid right now. The on-street bike plan and then the levy cap, that was actually, the bid was awarded here about 2 months ago. And again, this is a joint KDOT project. KDOT's paying for part of this. This is approximately 20 miles of on-street bike lanes and then a cap on the levy from Main Street to Old 40, going south of or north of the university there. And the bids have been awarded, and they're just waiting for weather. It'll probably start substantially in the spring. The work on the levy cap will probably start earlier than the bike system, the on-street bike markings, because of the fact that that's really weather dependent. You need warm weather to put those street markings down. So you'll probably see work on the levy cap first. Projects we have for next year coming up, we have some rehab work at the crosswind runway at the airport. This is just that we have some sections that aren't in good shape and they need replaced. It's an expensive project. It's about a $700,000 project, but again, it's not a very glamorous project because it's just taking care of what we have. The Big Creek levee repair east of Main is a project we'll be bidding out this year and bringing forward. If you look at, if you stand on Main Street where the levee crosses Main Street right at the bridge, and you look west, you will see the the levee is a very wide trapezoidal shape. And if you look east towards Municipal Park, you'll see a very narrow trapezoidal shape. That's because the levee on the west side of Main Street was built to a different standard, and it is more of a substantial levee that will actually protect us in time of flood, where the east portion wasn't built to the same set of standards and criteria, and it probably isn't as protective as we need if we do have a major flooding event. So we are probably going to remove a few trees and then make that levee wider and more substantive and build it to the specifications that we need to have. Couple small projects just to throw out here, and these are the non-glamorous stuff. A new carbon dioxide tank at the water treatment facility. We use carbon dioxide as part of our water treatment process, and the current tank we have is not big enough to take a full load, so we can't take advantage of economy of scale and buying a full truckload at a time. And there are times that we get, because of delivery issues, we run short to a point where we're not comfortable with how short we are in carbon dioxide. The tank is old, it needs replaced, so we're going to not only replace it but upgrade to a larger tank. Manhole rehabilitation project. We have 1,500 manholes in the wastewater system. And some of these manholes have been around since the first sewer lines were put in almost 100 years ago. And up until this year, we have budgeted nothing to repair these manholes. Well, they do have a lifespan. And just an example, you can spend about $5,000 a manhole to rehab and essentially have almost a new manhole where you need done, or depending on the depth, if you wait for it to fail and replace it, you could spend $35,000 to replace the manhole. So we started budgeting money to repair these manholes and rehab them. That's something you'll see. Basically what you'll see is a couple trucks parked by a manhole with some tubes going down into it, but rest assured we're making sure the infrastructure is sound. And then at the golf course, we had the wind destroyed a shed here about midsummer. That we had a microburst out there, and the wind destroyed a shed that was sort of adjacent to the pro shop. We're replacing that, and then we're putting new restrooms in. The restrooms we have are completely inadequate for the traffic we have out there. They are antiquated, they are not ADA compliant, and they just need replaced. And so we budgeted some money this year to replace that.
Let's talk a little about water. Give us a quick update on the K9 ranch situation.
The R9 ranch is, we are right now in the middle of the development process for that. We have a development team that consists of myself, some city staff, engineers, attorneys. We are doing most of the work behind the scenes right now. We recently had an interlocal agreement signed with the Hayes governing body and the Russell governing body. And that interlocal agreement gave us the ability, Hayes, the ability to file change applications on behalf of both communities. We're co-owners in the ranch. We own 82%, Russell owns 18%. And so we need their legal authority to file the change applications for the water rights at the ranch. That document gives us the ability to do that. So we are moving forward in earnest now with that. And we're working, we actually have a development meeting on Monday, this coming Monday. And we're going to put together a timeline. I would anticipate the first portions of the change applications to be filed this spring sometime. That will begin the regulatory process with the state. That's going to involve the change in use, the change in points of diversion, the change in use being changed from irrigation to municipal, the change in points of diversion where we actually pull the water out of the ground, and then the big one is the transfer application. Transferring water from that area to the Hayes-Russell area. And that triggers the Water Transfer Act, which is a series of statutes that deal with large volumes of water being transported over large distances. The Water Transfer Act has never been implemented in its current form. So nobody has ever wanted to move the amount of water the distance we want to move it that would trigger the Water Transfer Act. So it's going to be a precedent-setting event. Everybody's going to be paying attention to it in the water game. They're all going to be paying attention to it. And so with knowing that up front, we know that we have to make sure that all of our ducks are in a row, and the state is going to be really paying attention to the process, knowing that the way they enact the process and then the ultimate ruling on that is going to have a lot of effects long term, on potentially other transfers. So it's
What's your gut feeling? How's it going to go?
Well, so far the reception's been good. I mean, I think a lot of people understand you know, water in Kansas has a lot of uses, and sometimes water can be put to more of a beneficial use. And in this case, it's being used for one purpose down there, and we can put it to a lot more economically beneficial use here. And I think a lot of people are also understanding Hayes' situation, the Hayes, Ellis County region situation. There are 34 counties in Kansas with a population of over 15,000. And of those 34 counties, 33 of them lie either along or east of Highway 81, where you typically have reliable surface water flows year-round, or they lie on a major aquifer. The Ogallala, in the case of Ford, Edwards, and Finney County, or the Equus is like Reno County and McPherson. They lie on the Equus aquifer. There's only one county that doesn't have that reliable water source, and that's Ellis. And so there's a reason why we've been dealing with these water issues for years, when it seems like most of the state, even when you get western and it's more arid, they don't deal with it. It's because of our geographic situation, our water availability. I think a lot of people in the know are starting to realize that, one, there's reasons, underlying reasons why we're beginning this process, but two, we aren't looking to acquire more water to perpetuate bad habits. We are looking to acquire more water to ensure our long-term economic viability as a region. I think the reception will be a lot different if we used water in a manner that most other cities do in Kansas, which is at a high per capita usage, and then we wanted to go to get extra water to perpetuate that. I'm not trying to pick on other communities, but if you look at places like Goodland or Colby or some other communities that sit on the Ogallala Aquifer, they use 200 to 300 gallons per day per person of water. We use 95. The statewide average is 140, and that includes your large population centers in the eastern part of the state where they get almost 40 inches of rain a year. So we are by far the #1 water conservation community in the state of Kansas, and the lowest per capita usage in the state. So getting extra water to the community to continue those good habits it's about our economic viability of Hayes in the region. It's not about perpetuating bad habits.
Well, speaking of those good habits, Toby, the recension of the water restrictions, if you will, by the City Commission, does that not send a message that we're going to reverse our situation here and go back to our old ways?
Not at all. We have, there's a difference between the everyday water restrictions we have that's built into our code and the drought response plan. And what was rescinded was the first phase of the drought response plan. If you look at the city of Hayes, if you look at our normal operation, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year through wet years and dry years. In the summertime, you can't water outdoors between noon and 7. You can't wash down hard surfaces without a permit. If you look at some of the regulations now, you can't allow water to escape from your property, you know, the water wasting ordinances. If you look at the stuff we do now, we have the Green Plumbing Code, which mandates a lot of water conservation measures when properties are actually constructed or significantly rebuilt. We have the landscaping regulations that mandate the types of irrigated areas and the buffers and the things like that. So these are things we do every day of the year. We promote water conservation through education, through incentives, the rebates and stuff, the programs we have. These are something that we do all the time.
They're still in place then, basically.
Yeah, and none of that changes. The drought response plan is different. The drought response plan is a policy and a plan that says, okay, normal operation, we're doing this. Now, if we get into times of drought, these are the stages that are going to be implemented in a linear fashion. So the first stage is a warning, and the warning is essentially what it is. Warning, we're in a dry time, and that was the phase we were in. Now, in a warning stage, it really doesn't affect the residents or water customers. It was all stuff that we're doing internally. We cut back on our parks watering. We cut back on our street sweeping because it uses water. There's certain things we do, fire hydrant flushing. The second stage is, the first one is watch. The second stage is warning. Warning means it's a little more severe. The warning affects the people. Now your outdoor watering restrictions, instead of noon to 7, now it's 10 to 9. We're not issuing newly seeded lawn permits because of the amount of water. Even if you might be converting to buffalo grass, it takes a lot of water that summer to get the buffalo grass established, and so it's probably not wise to do that. There's things that affect the residents and the public. And then there's emergency, meaning we have an emergency and you're pretty much stopping all outdoor watering and you know, it's just not a good situation. So what the commission did is we were in warning, and all of these stages have triggers that are associated with it. So there's a trigger based on well field levels and drought conditions and consumption that said if we reach this, you should be in watch. If we reach this, you should be in warning. Well, the truth of the matter is we went into watch, we went back to warning, and then based on our well field levels right now, we don't have anything that would prompt us to be in any phase of the drought response plan. So that's why the commission moved out of it.
And these situations are monitored constantly.
Yes, they are. And that doesn't mean by any chance that our wells are back to normal with regard to what the drought caused. I would say the Smoky Hill wells are back to normal because the Smoky Hill aquifer recharges very quickly. The Big Creek wells are not back to normal. It took them about 4 years of below average flow and rainfall to get to the situation. It's probably going to take about 4 years to get completely out of it, of above average rainfall. But right now, we aren't, when you look at our indicators in Big Creek, we should not be in any sort of any phase of the drought response plan. So, you know, we'll monitor the situation as we go forward. If we have a hot, dry summer, maybe by the end of the summer, we're looking at going back into water warning. But right now, it really doesn't prompt. And what I want to make sure we don't do is be the boy who cried wolf, you know, because if you constantly operate under an agitated type of a scenario, then what's going to happen when you actually do reach that trigger? What's the increment then? If we were to just leave ourselves in water warning, what would be the increment then when the well field levels actually hit warning? How do you send that message out that, okay, now it's real? So that's why we were comfortable recommending let's get out of that, and then if it does happen, we'll get right back into it.
The City of Hays 2015 and what's ahead with Hays City Manager Toby Dougherty, our Community Connection. Thanks for watching.